I have a great time chatting with you. I'd just like to hear from you suggestions, whether there are certain things that we need to do better, or are there areas that we have not looked into?
We have talked a lot about, people, why they're getting married or not getting married. And one of the challenges I see is really, a lot of people do want to get married, but it's just that they have not found the right one. We do meet some singles, their late 20s or even their 30s, and they have never been in a relationship.
So no time to date at all.
No time to date, and by then they might have a very idealistic view of how a relationship should be.
Right.
We should transfer some of the stress from the mother to the father.
So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Jeff.
But in a way where we can perhaps look at paternity benefits, paternity leave, starting from there. I do like what you mentioned about in some Scandinavian country where if the father is seen as not investing time in the children, he may not qualify for progression in his career. I think such a culture, it's perhaps worth studying.
So really it's about creating a new social norm. And how do you think that the government can do that, or should that be left to some in a community?
Well, I think we need to first influence the employers.
Yes.
Yeah, employers, company culture to start setting up. Perhaps even starting from increasing the paternity leave from the current state what we have right now.
So it's important for the government to signal some change and shift in societal values?
I think so, because once we move that, eventually then the companies will actually catch up.
Yes.
So I think when we start that signal, we will be able to steer the ship into that direction.
But I think it's also up to the individuals. I mean, among us, we have people, a couple of people at least, who are decision makers in that company. Violet, for example, she started pro-family practices, then it makes her a more attractive employer to other people, and then other employers may then follow suit. So, I mean, with all due respect, I don't think the government should be the one to take on the entire lot of the responsibility.
I feel that the government might come up with a lot of schemes to help, encourage people to get married, have babies. But then again, there's only so much the government can do because a lot of it lies on the individuals' expectations. You can only do so much, but they might still decide on that path. The final decision just lies with them.
I mean, I think now, granted the fact that we need to get more singles married, but we need to have a lot more people have more than 2 children. And there seems to be a psychological barrier between 2 and 3 because a lot of things are not fit for 3 children. I mean, your car schemes, for instance, don't promote larger...
Discount tickets for 4.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be...
not 5.
Yeah, so it seems to be the fact that, I mean, somehow or another, throughout society, we might have to look at ways by which that the 3rd child gets incentivized in some way or another. And, I mean, somehow or another, that has to be that norm that larger families are perfectly all right. Someone at some stage, children have to be seen as a societal good. We need children in our country. And I think if people see that, then they might be more amenable to doing more for that child.
Yeah. Actually, if I may suggest a little innovation on that idea, as in Singapore, we're trying to get people to have even the 1st child. So how about the 1st child is all taken care of, and then the 2nd and 3rd, you're on your own?
I think the 1st child, I think most people accept that as being, if you're married, then you want to have the 1st child. And maybe the 2nd child too. But the barrier is really the next one. But a lot of people might be open to it, but it just does not seem to be feasible if you make the calculations.
Is it just entirely cost again, or is there something else that's more than cost?
No, I think a lot of it is cost, because I think when people have to think about all the arrangements for it, I mean, the jump is quite a substantial jump when you move from one step to another, and I think it's something we should think about in the long run.
There's a bit of contradiction in our whole discussion, which is on one hand, we always say it's personal, it's for the couple to decide.
Not for the government to.
On the other hand, every other sentence we say this is national.
The contradiction is not that. The contradiction is this is not for the government to interfere, but at the same time, the government should provide all this.
And we always say that.
Should interfere.
We always, one sentence says individual decision and personal. The other hand, we say what can government do, and this is about future. There are some issues that is about government policy. This is not one of them. This is ultimately about social norm, it's about culture. If you want father and mother to balance and transfer stress from one to the other, there's a certain social norm to expect that. It's not about, government can't change that. If you want employers to start to feel that you've got to provide the environment to be supportive, especially for mothers, it's also about business practices that take time. And so I feel we just have to give time for society to change, evolve. Government, in the meantime, paternity leave is always welcome. More childcare centres are always welcome. Anything to help women better juggle their family life and career responsibilities are always welcome. And then let couples decide.
I think that the decision to have a child is multifaceted. As parents or as young couples, we worry about many things, from safe delivery to medical costs, to education, to childcare arrangement. It's really what the responsible parent would do. You think about what are the steps involved, you think about what's the cost. Each of us probably have struggled with different aspects. Not all the issues can be settled by government alone. The government can help, and some of them involves society norms. And whether the government has a role in setting societal norms or shifting it, I think that's debatable. I like to think that we have a role because our policies are value-based. That's pegging a decision on certain values. We like to look at values such as self-reliance, encouraging work. And in this case, we are trying to cause a shift towards better balancing of parental roles. I think the government has to signal and has to take a stand. So whether it is through legislation, like in the case of a parental leave, or it's encouraging companies to adopt better pro-family work practices, the government can play a part, but the government cannot be deciding all the decisions, because some decisions are taken at the family level, some decisions are taken very intimately between the couples. As a woman that have gone through parenthood, marriage, is that if you think that children feature in your future, the best is to do it early. Healthier babies, you have less issues with health, you will have more energy to spend with your children. I've always advised our single friends, take some time to look at dating, break out of your comfort zone. Don't just look around your workplace. Look for some interest group, whether it's photography, whether it's in wine tasting. You meet someone of the same interest as you, expand your social circle. You need to set aside time. Family brings you tremendous joy, now and in future. At the end of it, why are we working so hard for? It's not just about us. At the end of it, we are part of a family and we want to extend that family.
Thank you, Minister, for your views and for everyone for giving your comments and your experiences. I think if I can sum it up, I'll say that the writing's already on the wall. We know that. We've heard it many, many times. We are facing a shrinking citizen population. And if we do not improve on our birth rates, you know what's going to happen? We'll have fewer and fewer young people to support the economy and our seniors. And the tax burden on the future generations will be very heavy as our population ages. So I know the government's doing what it can to support Singaporeans in their marriage and parenthood aspirations, but these are ultimately, again, very, very personal decisions. And hopefully the measures introduced so far can help remove barriers for those who want to start a family. But the government can and should only do so much. Marriage and raising a family are journeys of a lifetime, and the joys are worth the journey. So thank you very much again for all your views, for your candor. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.